Welcome to SoCal Cyclist podcast that brings you the people and practice of the Peloton. I'm your host, Brian Coe, and joining me in studio today is Adam Mills. How are you doing, Adam?
Doing well, Brian. Thanks for having me today.
So, Adam, you're in a unique position to talk about today's show. You're a coach for Source Endurance, and you run these camps for the Belgian Waffle Ride. And for those of you that don't know, the Belgian Waffle Ride, or BWR as it's called, is Southern California's premier gravel event. It's one of the hardest single-day rides/races you could ever do. And Adam, what's been your involvement in the prep to the race thus far?
So we run Source Endurance presented the Belgian Waffle Ride Survival Camp the last 3 years. I got the idea just by knowing how incredibly difficult the whole event is. And so I kind of pitched it to Michael one day over a stout cup of coffee and told him kind of what I wanted to do. And he looked at me and smiled and said, let's do it. And so from that point on, it's been a pretty good relationship. Everybody gets a opportunity to kind of beta test the route and kind of just ride the route over 3 days and have some of the best instructors that we can get in for the camp, whether they're BWR founders or winners or just great gravel people. And then some of the Source Endurance coaches as well will be there and have a lot of insight and a lot of ability to help everybody learn the ropes to kind of make it through the event.
And so what kind of typical skills does somebody need to do this event? Because there's people, what's cool is you have your straight up crit racers, your mountain bikers, your cyclocross people. Like it's sort of this big United Nations of bike enthusiasts doing a single event. What kind of skills are needed to succeed at an event like BWR?
Yeah, so Michael does a really good job with that course of giving everybody something. So at its core, it's not a pure gravel event. It's not like a Dirty Kanza. Mm-hmm. It's 140-ish miles, plus or minus like 5. And roughly 100 of it is pavement. 90 to 100 miles of it is pavement. So if you want to ride a road bike, you're going to be fine for almost all of the distance. But that 30 to 40 miles of dirt is what's going to make or break you. And so it has the road aspect because a lot of people in the Southern California area are roadies at heart. For the off-road, if you ride mountain bikes a little bit, you're going to get some of those fast dirt downhills. If you ride cyclocross, you're going to get some single track. If you ride a little bit of everything, you're going to be kind of at home. And looking at skills you need it all. You need all those handling abilities. You need the fitness. You need the ability to know how to eat and how much to eat and when to eat and how to drink enough. And it all has to come together on the right day at the very least so you have a great experience.
Mm-hmm. And so I've never done the event, unfortunately. But let's say there's a new person going into the BWR. What's in your opinion? What is the ideal bicycle / equipment / tire choice to do this type of event? Because there are a lot of different bikes out there that people use.
So I think the important part about equipment choice is being honest with yourself about what you are and are not good at. If you look at the winners of the Waffle Ride, it's always been some of the most fit riders in America and some of the most technically capable. So a rider like Jesse Anthony with national championships in cyclocross, mountain bike experience, and rides for Team Rally, as a professional athlete, he's going to be one of the most fit people. So from the beginning, he has the horsepower, but he also has his technical ability from his experience off-road that he can make a road bike work, and he can make road bikes will only handle about 28C tires, the biggest tire you can have, which is why this number 28 is always the number everyone talks about. Mm-hmm. That is only applicable for about 20 people in the entire race, the entire ride. The other,
And there's like over 1,000 people that do this, right?
there have been 1,400-ish people the last like couple years. So for everybody else, you want to ride the bike that's good at doing what you're not good at doing. And for a lot of people, that's the dirt. So I would, in our camps, and what I would recommend is a gravel bike, whether that's, you know, a Niner or the 3T Exploro or whatever anybody else has. There's a lot of great companies making great gravel bikes right now. You need tire clearance, and you need, I would say, disc brakes, because it gives you more ability to correct errors. And we're all going to make mistakes. Just make sure yours don't put you in the hospital. And the wider tires are better.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, what's the limiting factor on the road is not how heavy your tires are, it's how fast the group you're going, that you're riding in, is riding down the road. So if you're on a flat road with no wind and you're getting ridden out of it because of your tires, and your tires are too heavy, otherwise you have the right tire, and you need a wide tire with a fair amount of grab on it, not anything big, but like I would recommend for most people like a 38 to 44C like cyclocross fine file tread, because it'll get you up the hills, it gets you on the dirt. You never have to worry about like it not being wide enough on the dirt, because you don't need a narrow tire on the road, but you need a big tire, fat tire on the off-road, where most people aren't good at riding. And I think if you just take those guidelines, first off is what are you good at? Second off, what's the most extreme equipment that you can ride? And then you dial it back to what's more comfortable for you. And you have to kind of choose where you want to have your advantages and disadvantages in the whole day, because that 90 some miles of pavement is what most people fixate on. And from our camps, and me personally, I fixate on I can get around in the dirt and on the pavement. I need something that'll help me go faster on the dirt.
Weird question, but has anyone used a mountain bike for the event?
I have seen mountain bikes. I think it's a great idea, because then you never have to worry about it on the dirt, especially like a hardtail 2.9er would probably be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You just don't have the drop bars. So
Right.
you'd be grabbing a little bit more wind, but if that's the best you have, then just go for it.
Yeah. And I do notice some of the gravel guys have those like clip-on aero bars.
Right.
Is that a thing?
I hate the way they look. But,
Me too.
but in a 10-hour ride, which is the median finisher, I mean, there's something to be said for it, for being a little bit more aero. Personally, my belief is if there's 90 miles of pavement and I'm by myself ever, I've done something horribly, horribly wrong. And so I want to be in a group all the time of people working together to get towards the finish line. And at that point, the aero bars are never the safest bet.
Right.
First and foremost, I think the most important thing is fitness. You got to be fit enough to finish the ride regardless. Otherwise, none of the rest of what we're going to talk about matters. The wafer ride, the quote unquote short day, is still a 5.5 hour day. That's a really tough ride. 5.5 hours for almost all of us is going to be a kind of day where if we go out and do that on a Saturday, we're not going to do a whole lot the rest of the day.
Is that half the distance?
And that's
of the
a little
full?
bit more than half, but
Okay.
Or it's about half, but it has most of the demanding dirt, most of the more technical dirt. And then the Waffle is 135 miles. And we did a presentation at the camp, and the median finisher for the Waffle was 10 hours and like 4 minutes or something. And that's a long day.
That's a long day for sure.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. Well, what we did is we went for, I guess, last year's version, the most recent version that happened. We went sort of inside BWR, behind the scenes. We talked to some of the movers and shakers of that race. So what we're going to do is we're going to play you some of that audio from in the field, and then we'll see what the riders experienced.
Glorious day for a very challenging ride. We sent off over 1,200 riders a little over an hour ago. Ooh, There's our number one last year's winner already pulling in. Must have had a bad mechanical or issue like that. So looks like we'll have a new winner this year because Josh is done, unfortunately. But it's a great day. We couldn't ask for better weather, and our friends here with Cervelo and Lost Abbey have been just fantastic to us.
So this race kind of butts up with the Amgen Tour of California, which was yesterday. It wrapped up yesterday. You can't get any more different between that style of racing and this style of riding. Why do you think this has grown so much just in a short period of time?
I think it's a couple of things, Brian. I think we've got a fantastic challenge that we put out there for people that may not want to go and pin on a number and race, but yet they still like the challenge of being able to go out and push themselves to really big limits. And we give them a really good time to boot. All the great food, the beer, just the fun environment that we create makes it a whole day affair for folks, and we don't have to worry about crashing in a Criterium parking lot and riding our bike for 30, 40 minutes and being done.
Where do you see the future of this style of riding? Is this kind of the new face of cycling?
Personally, I think so. If you look at the numbers, race day numbers are dropping, whereas events like this are growing. They're growing not only in the number of races themselves, but the number of participants every year. Our race grew almost 20% this year, and we're super grateful for the people that put in all the time and effort to train and then come out here and to ride and ultimately benefit the Challenged Athletes Foundation.
All right, and we're here. It's still morning at the race. We're a few hours away from the first finishers. So give me your sort of top pick for overall winner, and then give me your top pick for best local guy.
Ooh, God, those are tough because I'm not probably the best handicapper. It was unfortunate to see Josh Berry come in just a few minutes ago, so I'm going to find out what happened with there because he would have probably been my odds-on favorite, knowing how well he did last year and coming off of a great Tour of California for him. We've got a lot of other working Tour pros out there. Allison Tetrick might be your female category winner, along with Amanda Nauman, who won it for the females last year.
And the cool thing was talking at that morning, I think it was still 9 a.m. Nobody was at the venue. It was just like the people at the booths. And then we see Josh Berry rolling in, Jelly Belly outfit. And I'm thinking there's no way he can come in this early. So something bad happened. He won it last year. And it's a shame because I think he was a marked man. Have you ever worked with him?
I know Josh. I personally never thought he was going to win this last year, especially after the first descent of is it Cougar Pass?
I think so.
And Cougar Canyon or whatever it's called.
Cougar Canyon?
Cougar Canyon is different, and then it's Cougar Pass.
Okay, gotcha.
It's a gravel descent. It's got a bunch of washboard. It's pretty technical, and I saw a number of water bottles. I saw a couple of Jelly Belly seat bags, which I'm assuming one of them was Josh's. I saw a wheel with no bike. I don't know where the rest of that. I guess I don't even want to know.
He was doing a wheelie the whole time.
Man, that was like, it's always fun to see that stuff. And then, I think I saw Josh standing on the side of the road.
Yeah.
So.
Well, luckily we caught up with him and got his thoughts as he came in the finish line.
I am Joshua Berry, and I ride for the Jelly Belly presented by Marckx cycling team.
You're here a little early. Tell us about what went on there on the ride today.
Yeah, I am definitely here a little early. It was a great start. Phil Gaimon definitely amped the pace on the first little climb, which was exactly what we wanted, and we split up to maybe a group of 15, 20, and heading down the first dirt descent, I lost all of the stuff out of my repair bag, but I was smart enough.
So the bag came off your bike, or just the tools came out of your bike?
Everything, just came out of it. Oh. But I had extras in my pockets because I knew with the winter that they've had here in California that it's going to be a little more rough this year. And I double flatted and I kind of fixed those and got going again, and then I got another front flat, and that was the end of my tools. Shimano had already run out of wheels, so that was my day.
How does it feel? I mean, coming from last year to this year, how does it feel to sort of not have a repeat?
I mean, you can't come into this event and expect to do the same that you did last year. I mean, last year was perfection. I came here very prepared for the Tour of California, but I didn't get to do the race. So I just took my bike out, and I had the patience, the luck, and the skill to make it through with no flats or anything like that. And this year, I just didn't have the luck. You know, my equipment, my team, everything's good. Even though I did the Tour of California, I think it's still a possibility I could have won, just because it's a fun event and I enjoy it. But it's too bad to be sitting here, but the beer's good, the waffle's good, the people are awesome, and my team's based out of here, so it's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. This race butts up kind of at the finish of Tour of California. Tour of California finished yesterday, and obviously Jelly Belly had such a strong presence in that race. Is there a part of you that wanted to be there, or would you rather be here, or sort of what's your take on that?
Oh, my whole career I've been plagued by the Tour of California. I've been run over twice before the event. I've had 2 surgeries before the event. My first year racing, I was very focused on doing it, and I had a teammate of Floyd Landis, and he had something to say about somebody, and that ended our Tour of California. So this year, I spent the winter knowing I wasn't going to do it, and then it happened. So I was very happy to do that, and I was very happy to ride for Sergey and my teammates and my team, and I more than 100% wanted to be in Tour of California. And really the only way I wanted to come back here was after the Tour of California and give myself that extra challenge. And so I'm happy to do both. But yeah, Tour of California is premier for me, but I really love this event.
Super bummer for Josh Berry, but man, to triple flat like that and then just have all your stuff thrown about the course, that's got to be rough.
Yeah, I am happy to hear that story. I didn't know, or I didn't appreciate how much he's been plagued by the Tour of California and his dream to be there and be healthy and be in it. So to hear that he was finally able to make that happen is pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, anytime you have a rider like Josh who flats, and it's likely in that section that he flatted on, it was probably a pinch flat. Mm-hmm. It's rare for those guys to make that kind of operator error to have a pinch flat. To double flat like that is even more rare, and it's almost a fluke. And then to have him flat a third time is just, you know, it's destiny.
It's a nail in the coffin.
It just wasn't his day. And you know, fortunately for the Belgian waffle ride, for all of the waffle failures that there are, and there are always a number of them, you know, there's always the beer at the end of the day, and the waffles are always good, and the beer is always amazing at Lost Abbey. And so even if it wasn't the best day, I mean, he's traveled to the event, he's made all these like time commitments and spent a lot of energy just to get to the start of it. And then if it were, you know, your typical bike race, what's he doing? He's just sitting there, sulking in the car, waiting for his team to get in or his director to show up or whoever. Whereas at the Belgian waffle ride, he's basically has an extra, you know, 5 hours to keep drinking beer before anybody else shows up.
Could you imagine he's like at some race and some, you know, NRC race, and he cracks like a beer right after the stage? It probably would not go well with the rest of the team, but here you can totally pull it off. Well, one thing we did is we went straight to the top. We talked to the brainchild of the event, Michael Marcx, and then we tried to see what he had to say about the event.
Well, geez. Most of the wafer people are done. Probably 35 or 40 of the waffle people are done. Not too many scabs and bruises. A couple things that happened. We ran out of water at the first station, had to scramble for all the other stuff. So that was I spent my whole day like moving water containers from one aid station to the next. I didn't get to enjoy as much of it as I wanted, but my friends who help me put this together every year, because every year I ride it, they say, oh yeah, Michael, welcome to our world. It's always stressful unless you're on the bike. So I think I'll go back to racing next year.
The bike's the easy part.
It is,
You
totally.
just have to think about one thing.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, everyone's having a good time, and the expo's going off, and people are starting to get drunk, and that makes things a lot more fun.
Absolutely. The winner today was for the
Jesse Anthony. I don't know what his time was, but it was a fairly close race. But at the end on the climbs, Jesse had it, and the race fatigues you. You know, you get to Double Peak, and you may be a good climber, but you might not have any watts left. But Jesse had plenty.
Yeah, I noticed his main competition finished race early. Josh Berry.
Yeah,
triple
he
flatted.
three flatted, triple flat like early on too. So kind of bummed for him.
So now that this race is kind of unfolding, are you already thinking about next year? Or?
I'm thinking about how angry I am with the county for some of the things that they made us do.
What'd they make you do?
Well, we had a really incredible course with mostly right-hand turns and no lights, and they made us change it to where we had to go totally the wrong direction. We had one section where there were 16 lights in a row, so that made it very expensive to get the CHP to handle that, and it just wasn't a good flow to the event. What I want to do is get back to having a really good course that's mostly right-hand turns. The county doesn't understand such things, and they only gave us our pyramid on Friday afternoon, which is kind of cruel and unusual, right? Hold us out there, leaving us hanging in the wind until the very last minute.
Right. Man, well, other than these small kinks, I think this race is definitely
It's a destination. Bigger, yeah.
It's a destination.
It seems like it. The funnest part is afterwards, most everyone is high-fiving me, and the only ones that want to hit me usually have a friend that try and block them from hitting me. I've only been hit like 3 times today.
Oh, man. So it's still very sort of relatively early in the day. There's still people out on the course. What time are the sort of later riders going to be coming in, you think?
Well, yeah, so the whole day, like until after dark. So if you want to hang here with me, we'll be rooting in the last finisher well after 8:30, which that's 13 and a half hours.
Yeah.
Last year there was 16 hours it was a little bit longer,
It was
but
a longer course.
16 hours for some people to finish.
Yeah.
It's a long day.
It is, but it's an event, that's for sure.
It's an adventure, I think, at that point.
Exactly. All right, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
Yeah.
You know, there's something to be said for just organizing a ride of this magnitude. Like, I get like how to organize like a crit 4 corners industrial park on a Sunday, but something like this with stoplights and traffic and dirt and road, it becomes a logistical nightmare at a certain point.
Yeah, it undoubtedly gets exponentially more difficult. The more stoplights you have to cross, the more intersections you have to control. And Michael's, he's right to a large degree in that having right-hand turns makes more sense, because then you don't have to control an intersection, or there's much less chance of a driver getting angry and saying, "I'm just going to go for it."
Yeah.
And then it keeps the riders less exposed, to vehicles. He's had his battles with the county, and for the sake of all of us, I hope he can get along with everybody well enough and everyone can, and settle on a great course. I know at the camp we did a few iterations of options that he has available. Maybe the best way to handle it is just to invite the county folks out there and to have some of that delicious beer and enjoy some waffles and see what he's doing firsthand, instead of just being like a something he has to sign. Just have it be something they can experience.
Yeah. Well, it was great for the competitors. We actually talked to the winner of the women's event, Larissa Connors, who's basically, when I met her, she's basically a walking cup of espresso. She's full of energy, and she did really well at this event.
Right there I could see them, and I was like, I need to be in that group. And then once I caught them, they weren't even going sitting on the back of them. It wasn't even that hard. I worked so hard to get there. Oh my gosh. I'm Larissa Connors. The start was real clean. Then I got a flat in the first descent because I thought that it was a mountain bike race, and I just started bombing the descent and just instantly flatted, so that was great. And then Shimano gave me a new wheel. And I spent 30 miles chasing, just destroying myself, working with this group of dudes. So that was really fun. But then when I caught the next group, when I caught the lead women, it was just
Who was in that group?
Amanda and Allison Tetrick.
Okay.
I was already just destroyed. So I eventually made it up to this chase group and recovered a little bit.
Were you marking Amanda, for being defending champ from last year, or were you just looking
She's
to go
like
faster?
a neighbor, and I'm super impressed by her. She's so good at these events, and so all I want to do is just keep up with her. So it's kind of a surprise to come in before her because she's so talented, but maybe she got a flat too or something. You never know.
How does this sort of stack up with one-day races for you in terms of how does it compare?
I mean, I really like those waffles this morning, and I ate half a can of whipped cream before this. So, and I hear there's ice cream over there. So I'm gonna say this is better than a World Cup because I didn't have to go to Europe, and I get ice cream and waffles. And when I race World Cups, they tell me I need to lose weight because I'm fat. So this is way better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Way better.
Thanks so much. Congrats.
Yeah, I love the waffles. Thanks.
She is hilarious. But she came out the winner. Well, you think she's going to have a repeat this year?
Man, I hope she comes back. She's a lot of fun. I was actually in that group chasing on with her, and she was, we'll call her a motivating force. I think a lot of the men get upset when there's a woman with them when they're pedaling hard. And they really get upset when the woman is outspoken and talking to them as everybody else is suffering. I didn't know Larissa at the time, but Larissa is a professional rider with 2016, or is it 2020 now?
2020.
Yeah.
Show
2020 and show air. And she also races mountain bikes. And so she's got the prototypical skill set to excel at something like Belgian waffle ride. She also was in a group of people that were riding hard that were just helping her to get her goal of doing well without having to be in the wind a whole lot on her own. So she had a lot of really good things going for her. And it was great to see her come out.
And this is one of those events where they just mass start everyone, men, women, children.
Sure.
Not children, but maybe juniors. I don't know if there's a junior, but everybody just starts at once.
Well, and it's a definite disappointment that men think that women aren't good at stuff. I've worked with a number of professional women through my coaching career, and they are fast. They are not slow. They know what they're doing, and to the best women, professionals are for sure better than almost every male rider out there. And it's always fun to watch that discovery process come about.
Coming up after the break, we talk to more cyclists, including the eventual winners of the BWR. Stay tuned. Hunker is Orange County's premier cycling event. Join other competitors on March 17th for a 100K mass start timed event. You can go for your PR and ride as an individual as well as teams of 5. Hunker is all about the future of cycling with U23 racers racing free with a paid U24 entry. Hunker courses are on some of Orange County's most iconic roads. Best of all, Hunker pays out equal cash to men and women. For more information, go to hunker.com. That's HUNKR.com. When you're out riding, how often do you think about health insurance? Probably not very often. You only think about it when you need it. Well, let's talk about Health IQ real quick. The important thing about Health IQ is that 56% of Health IQ customers save between 4 and 33% on their life insurance. If you like saving money on car insurance for being a good driver, Health IQ saves you money on your life insurance for basically living a health-conscious lifestyle. So let me ask you this. If you've ever done a bike race, a fondo, a gravel event, a cyclocross race, a fun ride, you can qualify for Health IQ and have a lower rate than you probably normally do on your current life insurance. 70% of exclusive rate clients get approved in the top rate class, and it's one of the fastest growing insurance companies with over $5 billion in coverage. For more information, check out healthiq.com/SoCal to see if you qualify, and if you're listening to this program, you probably already do. And now back to more of the SoCal Cyclist Podcast. Well, one of the people we talked to who did not come out a winner, but just a fierce competitor, is John Hornbeck. Hornbeck is known for working for RBA and running his Spandex Stampede series. Let's hear what he had to say.
That was more of a Belgian Waffle Ride Survivor. That's going to be the name of this piece I will write after this, is Surviving Belgian Waffle Ride.
How did the race go this year for you? What was it like out there?
It was good. It was a completely different dynamic from last year. More pro guys here, so up the pace. And then like last year, we kind of hit single track pretty early, so it kind of really spaced everyone out. And this year, we didn't really hit any. We hit some dirt descents, but it kept everyone together for like, I'd say 80K. We hit Black Canyon. Maybe 10 of us made the lead group. And then I just started kind of feeling it. Maybe 3/4 of the way up Black Canyon, like I don't have, I haven't been riding, so I backed it off. Came off that group, kind of just rode solo for a while, hooked up with the second group. Then it was cool. It was a bunch of rad people in that group, so we just kind of had fun and rode. And then the last 50K after the dirt, everything kind of split, and me and my buddy Brandon just rode together. We're just hanging out and having some chats. Had a beer at top of Double Peak, so that was nice.
How did the legs feel by the time you hit Double Peak?
Oh yeah, they weren't there. I was just nothing was there.
But was the heat a factor today?
Yeah, he was totally a factor. Just like a little bit of everything, but yeah, I mean, people were bobbing and swerving out there for sure. Kind of felt bad for some people, but no, it was. I mean, it is what it is. It's one of the toughest events for sure. The heat just adds to it, but no, it was good. It was fun. I'm standing on 2 feet still, so we're good.
And John's no slouch. He rode for Holoesco Citadel and rode Tour of California, and one of the best climbers in America. And for him to say the event hurt is a pretty big thing.
Yeah, John has a really good history and a good ability to kind of look at it from not just the eye of a pro or former full-time racer, but also of a event promoter himself. And he's got a lot of ability to kind of look at what does an event do well, and what can they get better at. And for him to give it a 2 thumbs up is for sure a great review from John. John's raced as a professional for years, and he understands what it takes to be at his absolute best. And so hearing his take on it is great, because he knows his limitations and he's aware of that, and he's able to look back and say his decision just to sit up and go with the second group made it so that he could have an enjoyable remainder of the day.
Having a beer at the top of Double Peak isn't bad either.
I know. I saw him finishing his beer and then start his trip down Double Peak as I was just getting to that point where I could see him finishing the beer and going, but I couldn't actually catch him at that point. But I was a little jealous. The beer was frosty cold, but they did not have any by the time that I asked.
Oh no! So. Well, speaking of the best, we got to talk to the eventual winner of the race, Jesse Anthony. He's a pro rider for rally cycling, and he's got kind of the background and the fitness level to do well at this event.
Oh man, I'm pretty cooked right now, but I'm actually coming around. I feel a little better. My stomach was really knotted after the race, but yeah, that was, it's starting to sink in. Like, I'm starting to recover a little bit. Yeah.
How are the legs? As you know, I saw some footage when you were up Double Peak and you were solo. How are you feeling going up that climb?
Man, I actually felt pretty good toward the end there. That last climb, I was just tapping out my own rhythm, and I felt like I had a good gap. And then near the top of it, someone said I only had 45 seconds. So I started freaking out a little bit. But
you had more than
I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes up at that point?
Yeah.
I had no idea. So at that point, I was feeling pretty good, but then I had to start really going for it, and it was stressful. Like, I was hurting. I was cramping for the last maybe hour.
Did you feel like you went out too hard, or?
No, I didn't feel very good today. My training has not been great lately. I've had some back injuries that have flared up, and the last 2 weeks have actually been kind of rough. But I saw some people back at home and did all the stretches I could to kind of get healthy and loosen up for this. And yesterday I felt all right, so I figured I'd come out here and see how it went. But yeah, definitely the first couple hours I was pretty stiff, pretty tight, and it took a while to really ride into it.
So a win for Rally yesterday with Evan Huffman, winning the final stage of Tour of California, and then a win today with Jesse at Belgian Waffle ride. What is this? I know this ride's a fun ride, but what does this win sort of mean for you?
Man, this is obviously I'm based in Southern California now for the last 4 years, and this is one of the iconic events down here. I think it's even more participants than the NOSCO ride, but probably the same kind of like magnitude. And I have an off-road background with cyclocross, so I love riding on dirt. I love riding mountain bikes, cyclocross bikes, whatever. So when I first heard about this ride, I was super stoked on it. And the race schedules never worked out for me to be able to do it before. But this year, without doing Tour of California, I wasn't on the squad for TOC, and I saw the opening to come here, and I thought, one, it's going to be great training for Winston-Salem next week, and two, I finally get to do an event that's kind of on my bucket list, but just something I've always wanted to do. And I always like getting out to the SoCal events and seeing a lot of people, the local riders from around here, and I have so many friends out there today. It was kind of cool to know a lot of people in the group, so winning it was definitely awesome. Like I knew it was possible coming in, but there's a lot of variables in an event like this, and everything went well enough that I could pull it off, so I'm pretty psyched.
Lastly, how does this sort of one-day race compare to any other one-day race you've done in Europe or the world? How does this stack up?
This is actually, to be honest, the closest I've done to a race like the Belgian Waffle Ride is the Vermont Overland, which is at the end of August, and I won that a few years ago, but that was about half as long. Very similar, though, with some dirt roads, some dirt trails that were like, you couldn't really ride a road bike on that one. Actually, you needed a cyclocross bike. But this one, just how long it was incredible. I think I did it in 6 hours and 45 minutes, which is a long time to be out there in the heat.
So the heat was definitely
the heat was definitely a factor. But the support out there was awesome. They did, the organizers did such a great job of having the feed stations, having plenty of water bottles. And then with our front group, they also had that pickup truck driving around and the motorcycle there for support. So that was really crucial for us. We're pushing it harder. We don't want to stop at the rest stops and fill up. So to have people handing up bottles and be able to get bottles from the moto and the truck, that makes a big difference for us. So that was really cool.
Well, hey, it's great to see you, take the win, especially an event like this. So congratulations.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Is it fair that riders now, when they do the BWR, they have to race against guys who are basically pro tour level now? Is it a fair thing? Should there be different categories, or should it just be winner take all?
Absolutely, it's fair. I mean, a guy like Jesse. First off, I think Jesse's the prototypical kind of rider for an event like Belgian Waffle Ride. I mean, he rides for Team Rally, so he's one of the most fit athletes in North America, if not the world. Couple that with his cyclocross background. I mean, he was, I think, a junior and U23 national champion, or maybe one or the other, but pretty substantial ability level there. And then he rides mountain bikes a lot. If you follow him on social media all winter, he's riding mountain bikes. So, he has the skill set and he has the fitness, and he understands like how to eat and how to drink. And so as soon as I saw his name on the start list, I remember I messaged Phil and Michael and I said, Jesse Anthony wins. And they were like, well, what about, and they kept naming guys, and I was like, no, like Jesse Anthony, if he doesn't break himself, he's going to win.
Or break his bike.
Yeah. So it was really cool to see him win. I've followed Jesse for a while. I've known him for a while. And I mean, he was truly satisfied with that win. And I know sometimes professional athlete, they'll win a non-professional event and they'll put on the smiley face and say, this was a great event and on and on. But it was legitimate like joy. And I think that's because he all of a sudden he has this understanding about how brutal it is, and to beat a guy like Sergey Tvetkov, I think I pronounced it right. Sergey would go on to get some amazing results in the Colorado Classic that year in a 2.8C UCI race. And so to beat those guys straight up, I mean, that's a legitimate result, even just based on who else was at the start line.
Man. Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll see if Jesse keeps the streak alive. Well, we went and caught up with the person who everyone thought was going to win, but actually didn't win the women's race, Amanda Nauman.
Oh my God. I think that's the hardest I've ever gone. Like, I felt like I wanted to pass out when I was climbing up Double Peak. Like seriously thought I needed to pull over and like stop for a second.
Larissa said she was just looking at you, a lot of the time, just kind of marking you, and kind of using that as sort of a carrot to gauge herself.
Yeah, I mean, I only saw her like once, so. Did Larissa win?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I came through that like third or fourth aid station. They were like, "Your first woman." I was like, "What happened to Larissa?" I guess they missed her. She didn't go by, or she went by and they missed it or whatever. But
was the heat a factor today?
Oh my God,
compared
yeah.
to last year?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's why I felt like I wanted to pass out at the top, because it was so hot. But yeah, I could have done with a little bit more ice or something.
No mechanicals or anything out there on the course? Or?
No, I had a clean race. There's just a lot of dirt, and a lot of dirt late in the race. And I think that's what everybody's going to complain about, is the fact that it was like, 6 hours in, and then he was like, "All right, here's all the dirt, go."
So by the time you hit Double Peak, how are the legs feeling?
Oh, terrible. Like I said, I thought I was needed to pull over and stop.
But you
yeah.
did it. Well, congratulations. It's
Thanks.
So good to see you.
Thanks, yeah, you too. Did you ride?
And the cool thing about Amanda is she just got 5th at cyclocross nationals, which is huge also. So she can do it on like a 1 hour super hard effort, or however many hours it took her to do BWR. She's kind of a jack of all trades type of rider.
Yeah, Amanda's a superstar in a lot of ways. She's won Belgian Waffle rides. She's won cyclocross races. She's won about anything out there, especially in the Southern California world. Everyone had trouble with the heat, so to assume that anyone would be immune is just inaccurate. She rode well. She parlayed the BWR experience into a successful cyclocross career, which might end up being her calling. But it was good to see her and see everything that she's been doing over the last year or so.
Yeah. Well, transitioning from her, we sat down and caught up with I would say the Strava star of cycling, Phil Gaimon. We sat down and talked with him because his plans were a little bit different than everyone else's. He's going to talk about it, but he went out a little bit early. The audio is a little bit noisy because there was a live band playing right next to us, but let's go ahead and listen in on what Phil had to say.
How did the race go out there for you today? It did not go. I wasn't prepared mentally. I wasn't prepared equipmentally or emotionally. So I flatted pretty early. I watched Jesse face plant. That was fun. Right at the beginning, Jesse slid on the dirt like a penguin.
Take a look at the tape here. It's got you off the front at the first KOM.
I smashed the first KOM. Smashed it.
So that's you coming by.
Yeah, that's true. I did that.
Lead of about 25, 30 seconds.
I kind of figured what would happen is what did happen, which is I wouldn't want to stay with the front group because they're racing dirt roads, and that ain't my thing. So I would just go for the KOMs and finish half an hour down.
So did you sit up?
Yeah, I waited for them after that. Yeah, I don't want to be solo for that. Jesus. But I flatted, and then took forever to get that sorted out, and then I got back in, I flatted later. Like, I didn't do the tubeless setup. I didn't have time to get my bike like I should have or do the homework.
Did you ride your regular road bike?
Yeah, I rode my like disc brake bike.
Okay.
So like it was fine, but it wasn't like, I'm not a good enough bike rider to not pinch flat on that stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe Jesse is, but I think he had tubeless also. Yeah, and then at some point, I'd flatted enough and I had enough and I bailed out. I didn't finish.
So did you even ride up the double peak climb, or?
I did like 115 miles and then flipped off. I did enough. It was enough. Yeah.
How does this race compare to a one-day race in Europe or anywhere else you've done?
Okay, I want to clarify. This isn't a race. This is a ride.
True.
And people should stop acting like it's a race. Even like people are gonna, if you put a pack of dudes anywhere, they're gonna act like it's a race.
Right.
But like a race is a race, and this is a ride, and it was a good ride. But it's only like 5 guys actually racing. I don't know. If anybody calls my ride a race, I'm gonna be pissed.
You know somebody will.
Well, they're gonna ruin it. Like, you gotta stop their cookies, for fuck's sake. What was your question?
How does it compare to actual race?
The terrain here, the course here was nuts. Like, harder than, no race would do that to people. There'd be lawsuits.
Yeah.
The union would not be cool if they put us on some of these goat paths. But the competition isn't Tom Boonen, so there's that. Sorry, Jesse. If you win by 10 minutes, then it wasn't much of a bike race, was it? Yeah.
Not at all.
But Jesse's the man. Jesse's like by far the best bike rider here. Fit dude, and like he loves his stuff. I can't ride mountain bikes with him even. It's bad times.
And
so, well
Josh
done.
Berry triple flatted early.
Yeah.
Pulled in here at like 9:30 a.m.
Oh.
And he's defending champ from last year.
Yeah. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. You know what? That's the hell of the North.
You can catch Phil on pretty much any Strava segment that goes uphill. I think that's still his mission in retirement. It is kind of surprising to see him do BWR because, that's like he was saying, that's not really his thing going on dirt. But, any uphill section from Torrey Pines to Diablo, he wants his name on that. Crazy stuff. Well, we've got one more rider that we talked to who's kind of made a really good transition going from professional road into events like this. And this is Ted King. Ted is somebody that is doing really well in terms of doing these types of events and sort of embracing how they are. Did you ride with Ted during the BWR?
I missed... I rode with Ted a little bit during the ride. I missed him as far as our racing worlds go. He's younger, so he was kind of coming in and on that national team path, and I was already well beyond that. But kudos to Phil Gaimon for coming out, man. Like he's always been known like that. He's made his living as a world tour rider, riding uphill, and no one's ever once said he's a great descender or great off-road. And to see him out at Belgian Waffle Ride and say, okay, I know I'm not great at this, but I'm going to give it a go and see what can happen anyway. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what the event's about, is challenging yourself and making the most of it.
I've seen him win a CBR crit.
Yes.
He soloed by himself off
right.
the bike, which is amazing for someone who's a climber.
Right. And I know that race. I wasn't there that week, but I know some people in that race, and my question to them was, as soon as you had Phil Gaimon in your group, like why would you worry about anybody else in that race? He's the fastest guy there.
Oh man.
But that being said, like knowing that and then doing that with a guy like Phil are dramatically different aspects, different things. So.
Well, let's check out what Ted King had to say.
Oh, I'm a little bit knackered, but no, it's a beautiful race.
How did it go out there for you?
Race went well. It's cool because you experience everything under the sun. No pun intended, since it's baking in the sun. I felt good. I felt bad. I got a couple flat tires. I rallied well at the end, and it was a really, really fun event.
Did you have to wait a while to get it going again on those flats, or?
long enough that it definitely took me out of contention. I was up with Jesse and Sam Bassetti, so that looked like a really distinct group. We had about 40K to go, I believe, and then I flatted there, and then I rode another couple miles and got another flat. I mean, this was around Hodges Lake, I think it's called.
Yeah, like Hodges.
Very, very rocky area.
Could you see Jesse pulling away, and were you able to sort of see the move go, and then?
No, I was with him, and I got a flat tire.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, shit. That is the move. So, yeah, that was a regretful flat tire.
And then do you remember how the legs were going up that, it's called double peak climb?
Well, that was kind of nice because I felt crap, and then I got to that point, and I passed 2 guys, and then the math in my head, I'm like, oh, sweet, I'm going to finish 3rd. This is kind of nice. But then, lest I forget, there was one person up the road in front, so then I finished 4th.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I felt really good on.
And in terms of one-day events, you obviously have a world tour background. How does this event sort of stack up to any one-day race you've done in Europe?
Definitely a whole lot of suffering today. I mean, I've long since given up training with any sort of structure. I don't do intervals anymore. I like to ride a bike. I like to ride hard, but this is a whole new. This was a lot of suffering. It's definitely comparable to doing a 6-hour day in northern Belgium.
And then here's Ted talking about life as a retired pro bike racer.
It's awesome. I'm now a couple beers in. We're here at Lost Abbey, which is a really great venue. I mean, it's nice to finish a race like this, hang out with your buddies, high-five people, drink some beers, and not be concerned about getting your legs up and massage and recovery and the subsequent training. Retirement is going very well for me. I have a lot of great sponsors, and I got set up with an awesome bike here today. A Cannondale Evo with disc, E-Tap Hydro by the good folks at SRAM, a couple 303 hoops, front and rear, Speed Play scissor pedals. It was an awesome setup. I'm in a really good place in the sport.
So what's in store kind of for the future? Are you just going to keep crushing fondos in events like this, and or are you going to go take Strava KOMs like Phil?
No, Strava KOMs require more training than I'm content to do. I'm going to continue doing this. I mean, I had so much FaceTime with so many people. I mean, like, what do we have, 1,200 people, 1,800 people, something insane here. I'm going to head to Dirty Kansas, do that. It's a lot of events. It's a lot of handful of races. But everything that's right about the sport. It's just, these events are so much fun. I think it really has a foundation for the future of American cycling.
And that is a good note to sort of end on. It was great talking to those people and getting sort of an inside look at BWR. Adam, what are your thoughts about this year's coming up event? What kind of things can riders look forward to?
I think it is going to be a little bit different of a course than what we've seen in the past for a bunch of reasons. I think we have some old dirt that's available once again and some new stuff that's coming available. I think it's going to be more craziness, more shenanigans, we'll say same amount of beer, because I don't think any more beer would particularly be healthy. But, it's a lot of fun, and I think it's something that's becoming a mainstay in the Southern California cycling culture. We've listened to how many people now talk, and they've all said, to some degree, like, this is the future of the sport in North America, and I think that is hands down accurate. Everyone's having a lot of fun, and they're on their bikes and they're outside, and if you walk around these venues, it's all smiles, and that's a great place to be.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for coming in, Adam. How can people learn more about you and coaching, and how can people find you online?
So I am the owner of Source Endurance Coaching. We have worked with athletes across the entire spectrum, from adaptive athletes all the way to professionals, with national championships in about any given discipline you can imagine. But most of our clients are doing these kind of events right now, and they're having a lot of fun doing these, and being fit and having the right equipment matter a lot in these events. And that's kind of what we can help with and what all our coaches are great at doing.
All right. Well, hey, like Adam said, these events are really becoming the face of modern cycling. And, I hate to say it, but I think USA Cycling's a little bit nervous about this kind of thing because it's, crits aren't cutting it anymore. And, there's more participation in this. So let me know what you think. Reach out to me, Brian, at socalcyclist.org. Listen in on iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud. And then in terms of social media, reach out at SoCal_cyclist and let us know if you're doing an event like the BWR or if you've done events like this. But until next time, this is Brian Coe for Adam Mills saying, respect the wave.